Namaste, welcome back. Episode 9. We will continue with the Yog series, and this one is Kaal Sarp or Breath Yog. Let's also just refresh a bit of fundamentals so that we can understand this yoga a bit better. We know that Rahu and Ketu are 7 houses apart, or they are like vertically aligned to each other. So if Rahu is in house 1, Ketu will always be in house 7. Rahu in Ketu, Rahu in house 2, Ketu will be in 8. Rahu in house 3, Ketu will be in 9, and so on. And the second fundamental you have to remember is that which are the Karak grahas or the benefic planets for each of the ascendants. Kaal Sarp Yog by itself need not be feared at all. This is just like a yog. It has its own peak period, then other times it lies dormant, and it can be sometimes good results also based on the malefic and benefic situation of the planets. How does it work? I'll show with some examples, but just to understand, we do know that Rahu and Ketu are already always vertical aligned. So if Rahu is in 1, Ketu will be in 7. In our, say, first example, let's take. And if Rahu is in 1 and Ketu is in 7, the remaining 7 planets of the birth chart should be in houses 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means within 1 and 7. Then this yoga is valid. Let's take another example. Rahu is in number 2 and Ketu is in number 8. Then what happens? All other planets should be in houses number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Remember, they can't be with 2 and 8 also. They have to be within Rahu and Ketu. They cannot be with Rahu and Ketu. Let's take the next one. Let's say Rahu is in 3, then Ketu will be in 9, obviously. Then all your remaining planets should be in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. So we'll look at the 12 types where Rahu is in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 12, going to 12, and we'll see how they are looking. Though the name can be intimidating, Kaal Sarp Yog, like it sounds, Sarp itself is like snake, which is a venomous creature. Uh, we can take these in our stride because they are not very difficult or out of the world kind of yogs. But of course, a lot will depend on the transits, on the malefic benefic status of your planets and so on. See, reading a birth chart does not depend on just one aspect. For example, if you have a Kaal Sarp Yog, you cannot conclude just by that. You need to see the degrees of the planets, you need to see the aspects, you need to see the combinations, conjunctions available. There are so many aspects to reading a birth chart. So this is just one aspect. And these yolks can have benefic and malefic effects depending on the planetary situations of your Rahu and Ketu. So just with the picture I'll show, these are the 12 houses starting from 1 here, 2, 3, 4, and here if this is the ascendant, then it is 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you look at it, the first one, if Rahu is here and Ketu is here, this particular yog will be called Anant Kaal Sarp Yog. If Rahu is in house number 2 and Ketu in house number 8, because it's always 7 houses apart, then and all the remaining planets are within these Rahu and Ketu, then it's a Kaal Sarp Yog and it's called Kulik. Let's take 3. Vasuki. So Rahu is here. Where will Ketu be? Here. And all remaining planets should be within these two. Okay. And if let me show with some some sketch also. Let's say let's take the first one. Say Rahu is here. Like I said, bear with my sketches, and Ketu is here. Okay. So all other planets should be within in this one, this one, this one, this one, or this one. Remember, they cannot be in R or Ketu, Rahu or Ketu. They have to be in this group only. So like that, you can just go around and see and take some samples and try and see if you understand. Let's run through the names to get a feeling. So if Rahu is in 3, it would be Vasuki. If it's in 4, it's Shankpal. If it's in 5, it's Padam. If it's in 6, it's Mahapadma. If it's in 7, it's if it's in 7, it's Takshak. 8, it's Karkotak. 9 is Shankachur. 10 is Ghatak. 11 is Vishdhar. 12 is Sheshnag. So let's look at this table. I've plotted all the 12 names here, and I've put Rahu in houses 1 to 12 and Ketu 7 houses apart, obviously, so that we get a quick view. Just small tiny detail that when Rahu is in 1 to 6, it's called Kaal Sarp, but 7 to 12, it's called Kaal Mrit. Although generally people call this entire bucket into Kaal Sarp, but as you go deeper, they have two different connotations. Let's look at some examples. In this case, I've put Rahu in house number 6 and Ketu is house number 12. This arrow marks that they are in a straight opposite line to each other. Where are all the planets? All the planets are Sun is here, Mars is here, Mercury, Venus is here, and some are on this side of the line, Saturn and Jupiter. So does this birth chart apply to a Kaal Sarp Yog? No, because against the line of Rahu and Ketu, there are planets on both sides of this line. So this particular birth chart is free of Kaal Sarp. Let's take one more. I've kept the Rahu and Ketu in the same houses, like Rahu in house 6 and Ketu in 12. But this time all the planets, look at Sun here, Mars, Saturn, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Moon. They're all on this side of the line. You see this side, there are no planets at all. So birth charts which are like this, where all the planets are on one side of Rahu and Ketu, either they could have been here also, all of them, but all of them have to be here. Then this particular one is definitely a candidate for Kaal Sarp. Please also notice there's no planet with Rahu or with Ketu. So this is definitely a case of Kaal Sarp Yog birth chart. Let's take another one. Same again, Ketu here, Rahu here, and all planets are here, Sun, Mars, but one of the planets, say Moon, is with Rahu. Though it's on this side, but it's with Rahu. Even then, this is not a candidate for Kaal Sarp Yog. A small teaser. Where could this yog be beneficial? When do you think it could be beneficial? So one case could be that if your ascendant is like say 11, Aquarius, and if Rahu is sitting in house number 11, which is and in house number 11, zodiac 11, Saturn is a benefic planet, and Rahu being attached to Saturn could be also benefic. So considering many other aspects to a birth chart, there could be areas where this could be beneficial also. So small teaser, what is the name of the yog when Ketu is in house 1? The yog is Takshak. And you can try this quiz with yourself with all 12 so that you start getting a feel. If you can't remember it, it's fine. You can keep the table handy whenever you're doing this yoga, because you don't need this to read all the time. All you need to know is that all the planets should be within Rahu and Ketu, and then this yoga is valid. And then it's not as scary as it's made out to be. It's a simple planetary position where all the planets tend to swerve towards one side. So sometimes it can get peak and go through a certain phase, but otherwise you don't have to worry too much. I'll see you in next episode.